Well, the coronavirus now declared a pandemic. Major events across the country now canceled because of health concerns. That's where we start. I'm Mike Black. Connor has the night off. The economic impact of the coronavirus also felt right here in the Valley. Our Kenesha Dees is live in the control room. Kenesha, what exactly are people saying?
Well, Mike, I spoke with the Huntsville-Madison County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and they say so far 2 events, major ones, have been canceled.
The Association of the U.S. Army Global Symposium Exposition and the National Children's Advocacy Center's 36th Annual International Symposium on Child Abuse canceled. Coronavirus concerns are the cause.
Those are 2 very large conferences that Huntsville hosts annually, and we work with those groups very closely, so that's a tough hit to the local hospitality industry.
Altogether, the 2 events would have brought in more than 7,000 attendees.
With the cancellation of both of those 2 events, that comes in at roughly about $5 million in economic loss to Huntsville and Madison County.
Members of the Huntsville-Madison County Chamber of Commerce say they've been armed with hand sanitizer and taking extra precautions to ensure a safe environment. They also say it's an opportunity to encourage people to support small businesses.
What a perfect time to be a tourist in your hometown. Continue to shop local and dine local because they need you right now. With the conferences being canceled, people hired extra help, ordered extra food.
Folks at the CVB also pushing for supporting local businesses.
We're encouraging our residents, as travel is impacted, we encourage residents to get out and go to a restaurant, maybe explore your own backyard, maybe have a staycation at one of our local hotels, visit an attraction, and just really support our hospitality industry during this time.
And the CVB say they're not aware of any other events that have been canceled in the Valley. They're handling the situation on a case-by-case basis. Putting the Valley first, Kenesha Dees, WZDX News.